On Thursday night, TJ Watt took a knee to the face with the protection of a face mask on the first play from scrimmage in the game against the Patriots. Ezekiel Elliott rattled and rocked TJ Watt, and there was some discussion during the game about his overall status. He was checked on the sideline. At one point, he was in the tent with the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant, and then a tinted visor was placed on TJ Watt, which caused many to think he's experiencing light sensitivity, which is a concussion symptom. In the ensuing days, Watt, who finished the game, placed in the concussion protocol. The NFL declining to answer any questions about whether and to what extent Watt was checked for a concussion during the game, why he was put in the visor. And against that background, Mike Tomlin had his weekly press conference on Monday in advance of Saturday's game against the Colts. He was asked a couple of questions about Watt. Here's what Tomlin had to say.
I assumed that he was, but again, I'm managing the game. I leave that to the medical experts. They essentially tell me whether someone is out, whether they're subject to return or whether they're back. I got a report that he was subject to return, and then I got a report that he was back, and that was just my knowledge of the details of what transpired with him during the time that he was out in game.
TJ came back in. He was wearing a dark visor. And a lot of fans have made a big issue about this because he's in concussion protocol. What would be the reason for switching to a?
I wasn't aware of that, to be honest with you. So I don't have a response to that. I wasn't aware that he changed visors, or he normally wears a visor. You mean the tint of his visor was different? Yeah. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. I didn't set it up properly. The question that he answered initially was whether Watt was checked for a concussion during the game. And Tomlin said he assumed that he was. Those comments from Tomlin would have made sense Thursday night or even Friday morning. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and half a day on Monday, he does his press conferences around noon, usually Tuesday, this week Monday because they play Saturday. I don't understand, and I'm a big fan of discerning organizational dynamics, the way human beings interact in a workplace, and we've all been in a workplace in some form or fashion, or even if you're in a school setting, the way people communicate. What's the hot topic? What are people talking about? I find it very hard to believe, and I'm not saying Mike Tomlin's lying. I'm just saying in my own experience, I find it very hard to believe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and half a Monday, it never lands on his radar screen in any discussion with anyone that there's a mini controversy about TJ Watt. I know all about ball and we're focusing on the next game, but how is there not a moment at some point during the course of the day? These coaches are not constantly sitting there watching film. They're not constantly immersed in the nuances of the X's and O's of football. They are humans like the rest of us. How I want to know how. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it happened. How was there no natural curiosity? Hey, well, wait, TJ's in the concussion protocol Friday. What did you guys do to make sure he was good to play? Is there a chance we let a guy get back into the game who shouldn't have been in the game? That's alarming, or at least it should be to an NFL head coach. Not something like, well, I assume they did. Well, I assume they did. Well, you've had 3 days to find out. You either care that they did or didn't, or you don't. That response suggests to me he just doesn't care. And it's beyond just deferring to the medical experts. At some point, your natural curiosity has to take over. Are we doing enough to take care of our players? It's not, well, I just assume they took care of it. We have an outcome that should spark the curiosity. Hang on a second. Wait a minute. You're telling me that if it's good to finish the game, but then he's in the concussion protocol, I need to know more about that. Same thing as the visor. How's he not aware, Myles? Everybody, of all the people who have a 412 area code on their phone, he's probably the only one that didn't know TJ Watt switched to a tinted visor.
By Monday, you would think that he would have known that in some form or fashion between somebody prepping him for the press conference or, his own natural curiosity. And that's the kind of thing that where I'm listening to that and I'm watching it as I did yesterday. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, what? You didn't know that until now? But during the game, it is the job of the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant to clear or not clear the player. So that, I think, is where I question, well, what was he checked for? Because That time, Mike Tomlin's being the head coach, right? All he needs to know is up or down. And as he says, explained, that's what they tell him. So that I agree with you, where how do you not know that at that point by the time you're doing that press conference? That is a little curious
right,
to me.
Because you're the one who's in charge of everything that's happening out there ultimately. You defer to people in the moment, but afterward you have curiosity and you gather information. And how between Thursday night and Monday afternoon, what would be a pretty important subject is just something that wasn't even apparently considered. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.